What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Pitching Ninja's filthiest pitches of the day. Remember, before we get to those pitches, hit that subscribe button. Never miss an episode of the biggest and best daily baseball show on YouTube. And now, without further ado, here are my filthiest pitches of the day. I'm going to start with Shane Bieber, who had 4 strikeouts in 7 innings, giving up 2 runs. He relied on his fastballs and knuckle curves. His Ks are down a ton this year, but his ERA is still pretty good at 3.11. Still, I'm really hoping those Ks come back for Bieber, because eventually it catches up to you. He battled Nick Pivetta, who had 5 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 4 runs. Pivetta got this KO with his fastball. Ninja referee Steve Willis count him out, and had these nasty curveballs, getting a sword on a curveball too. Pablo Lopez had 7 Ks in 6 innings, gave up 6 runs, and he looked to be cruising early in the game, but got hit late. He relied on his fastballs, his changeup, and his curveball. Clark Schmidt had 8 Ks in 5 innings, but gave up 5 runs. And Schmidt did a good job battling after giving up 5 runs in the first 3 innings. He had these nasty sweepers and cutters. And he battled Jacob deGrom, who had 2 strikeouts in 3 2/3 innings, giving up no runs. He had a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. And here's an overlay of his fastball and slider. And in typical deGrom fashion, that is filthy. Unfortunately, what's also become typical is deGrom got injured again in this game, this time leaving with forearm tightness. Obviously, this is really frustrating to fans of great pitching, because pitch for pitch, deGrom's the best pitcher on the planet. And I know it's also incredibly frustrating for Jacob deGrom, because he had said he has his eyes set on being a top-tier Hall of Famer. Hopefully, deGrom will be back on the bump soon. Zach Eflin had 5 Ks in 5 innings. But probably the biggest moment of this game was when he gave up a home run and then hit Luis Robert with the next pitch. This led to both benches being warned. And then Pedro Grifol lost his mind. Basically, he didn't think that the White Sox should get the inner half of the plate taken away because Eflin threw it their hitter. You can see the White Sox bench was fired up, and the White Sox starting pitcher, Lucas Giolito, looked like he wanted to kill somebody. And if both benches weren't warned, he probably would have gotten retribution. Do you guys think the hit by pitch was on purpose? Leave me your thoughts in the comments. Aside from that inside fastball, Eflin also had these wicked curveballs. Lucas Giolito had 6 Ks in 6 2/3 innings, giving up only 2 runs, and relied on his fastballs, his patented changeup, and this nasty slider. Merrill Kelly had 5 Ks in 6 innings, giving up only 1 run. He got a sword on this changeup, a bend the knee on this slider, and had a couple good fastballs. He outdueled Kyle Freeland, who had 3 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 3 runs, and had these dirty knuckle curves. Dustin May had 4 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 2 runs, thanks to his curveballs, which were up to 3,255 RPMs, and his sinker, which had up to 20 inches of run. He faced off against Jack Flaherty, who had 7 Ks in 4 2/3 innings, giving up 5 runs, 4 of them earned. Flaherty relied on his fastballs, his cutters, and these vicious knuckle curves. Luis Castillo had 4 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 2 runs, thanks to his fastball and changeup. He battled Alek Manoah, who had 7 Ks in 5 innings, giving up only 2 runs. Manoah had this sick changeup, this painted sinker, and these wicked sliders. Jesus Luzardo, the Jesus Lizard, had 6 Ks in 6 1/3 innings, giving up 2 runs, his 98-mile-an-hour fastball, and this quick pitch changeup, which I love. It's almost like he rushes at the hitter and then throws a changeup, which totally can throw you off. As a hitter, your brain is thinking fastball because Luzardo is coming at you so quickly. But instead, you get the changeup. Luzardo also had these nasty sliders. Opposite Luzardo was Marcus Stroman, who had 3 Ks in 6 1/3 innings and had these painted 2-seamers. Tyler Anderson had 7 Ks in 6 2/3 innings, giving up only 1 run, and had his filthy changeups and cutters working. And he faced Wade Miley, who didn't have a lot of Ks, only 2 Ks in 6 innings, and gave up only 1 run, and had this pretty changeup. Aaron Nola had 6 Ks in 8 innings, giving up only 1 run, and got those Ks on a mix of fastballs and changeups. Hitters must have been confused by Nola's sequencing, because he got 20 called strikes this game. Nola battled Framber Valdez, who had 3 Ks in 7 innings, giving up 3 runs, and relied on his sinker/two-seamer that had this wicked movement. David Peterson had 6 Ks in 5 innings. He did give up 4 runs, but had these nasty sliders and changeup. And he got outdueled by yesterday's filthiest starting pitcher, Max Fried. Yes, this game only went 5 innings due to rain, but Fried showed enough in those 5 innings to be yesterday's filthiest starting pitcher. He had 7 strikeouts, giving up only 3 hits and no runs. He had these filthy changeups, his painted fastball, and even threw this fastball that cut. Fried's fastball is a little weird because it can cut or go arm side. It generally has very little horizontal movement, so it can go either way. And I'm not sure he does it on purpose. But it's very effective because that little movement throws hitters off because they're used to fastballs running arm side. And of course, Fried worked in some hammer curveballs. Here are a couple of overlays of Fried's fastball and curveball. And you can see he gets a sword here by tunneling his curveball with that fastball really well. So you end up thinking you're swinging at a fastball, but it's a curveball and you try to check, but to no avail. But also the lack of tunneling can get a hitter out as well. You see here Fried's curveball way out of the plane of the fastball. And as a hitter, you give up on it because the curveball is way higher than that fastball. But then you see the curveball breaking back to the zone, and you have to make a late decision emergency hack to swing, which shows you both tunneling and sometimes the lack of tunneling can be very effective. Although I guess you can't really call it a lack of tunneling because you're tunneling with an imaginary pitch that is way out of the zone that the hitter knows isn't going to be a strike, causing the hitter to give up. Fried's ERA this season is an amazing .45. Now onto my filthiest relievers. Jason Adam had this nasty sweeper. Brian Abreu had these wicked sliders. Matt Brash had this 90-mile-an-hour slider. Eric Swanson had these nasty splitters. Michael Fulmer had this cutter and changeup. Pete Fairbanks had this dirty slider. AJ Puck had these frisbee sweepers. Penn Murphy had this sweeper. Jordan Romano had his arm ready to strike like a snake and had this fastball and vicious slider. Although the slider was a little different shape than his normal slider and looked kind of like a curveball. Cutter Crawford had these fastballs, and I've pointed out before his short arm action, and I asked Cutter Crawford about this in our interview.
Yeah, I didn't used to throw like that. I kind of had a pretty standard longer arm action before Tommy John, growing up before Tommy John. Once I had Tommy John, I was, in my mind, my thought process was, okay, I need to approach some things I might have issues with. I dealt with a lot of elbow pain. So I wanted to shorten up for, to be more efficient, to be more on time with my mechanics, and to save the health of my arm. I think that was one of the big things. Was I feel like the short arm action is a little more efficient. That way you don't get put into vulnerable positions, on your elbow. Throwing a baseball is not natural. You're going to put stress on your elbow. So if I can take as much stress off of it as I can, I want to do that.
Did that help your velo at all, or is it velo pretty consistent regardless?
So I didn't throw as hard before TJ. I don't want to say that my shorter arm action has, directly affected my velo, caused the velo jump. I got my body in much better shape throughout the Tommy John process. So, it could have been, I think it's a combination of 3 things, and that's, the shorter arm action, getting my body in much better shape to perform at a high level, and then also cleaning up some things mechanically.
Tim Meza had this nasty sinker and slider. Rafael Montero had these overpowering fastballs. Mark Leiter Jr. had this dirty splitter. Trevor Stephan had this wicked splitter. Devin Williams had these ungodly airbenders. These things broke anywhere from 22 to 24 inches arm side. True UFOs. But my filthiest reliever of the day yesterday was Jose El Diablo Alvarado. He had these overpowering fastballs, and look at the movement he gets on that. Just unhittable. That's up to 16 inches of arm side run. And to top it off, he also had this sick back foot cutter. He now has 24 strikeouts in 12 1/3 innings with no walks. El Diablo has clearly sold his soul to the devil. In minor league action, Justin Verlander had a really good start. You can see here his nasty mix of curveballs and sliders. And I hope to see this young prospect up in the major leagues soon. I think he may have a shot at being a first ballot Hall of Famer. And now, my pitching ninja moment of zen. If you've never seen a 20-foot bunt double to the catcher, well, now you have.
At first base. And there's nobody at second base.
What's up, everybody? I have some great news for you. This weekend, FanDuel has agreed to give a 50% Pitching Ninja Profit Boost token. This Profit Boost token can be used either today or tomorrow and will give you a 50% boost on your profits from any straight MLB bet. I would use my Profit Boost token on Spencer Strider today against the Mets, looking at 8 Ks or more. And my parlay of the day is a 3-leg parlay with Spencer Strider for 8 Ks or more, Reed Detmers for 7 Ks or more, and Kevin Gausman for 7 Ks or more. What would your picks of the day be?